So I'm just sitting here waiting on my bus to come so I can go to the park and just bask in the sun and get black as shit, man. That's the goal. All right, but on some more serious note, in light of the last joke that I shared with you, I hope you guys got some laughs and giggles, some everything that comes along with that. Be on the lookout for the Humor is Medicine stand-up comedy tour. So I didn't forget about that. I know some of y'all thought, what about the Humor is Medicine thing? You think he's still up to that? I definitely am. Still up to all of that. But nah. So some people ask me, even the ones that don't ask me, I see the light bulbs above your head. I know what you're thinking. I got good at that. I think like a cop. No, I'm just joking. Why do you talk so much about being a cop, man? Every other word out of your mouth is like, think like a cop, I'm gonna be a cop. Think like a cop, I'm gonna be a cop. Think like a cop, I'm gonna be a cop. Something about a cop, something about a cop. And I tell you what, the reason why is because the old me, wasn't a complete fuck up, But I was a little bit more lazy than I would have liked to have been. I've held some really good jobs, and but I feel like I could have held on to them a little bit longer. I've explored. I've gone to a couple of different cities, lived there, done some pretty cool stuff in my life. But the thing about it is, when you're me and you started smoking weed from about the time you were 18 until you're about 38, that's I think that's 20 years of my life. Let me see. 18 and 10 is 28, another 10 is 38. So yeah, 20 years of my life I smoked weed. And not just that, I smoked cigarettes, and that is what really hurt me really badly. And fortunately I quit smoking cigarettes about 4 years ago, and I'm trying to never go back to smoking cigarettes, and I'm trying to really not go back to smoking weed. Because I'll tell you what, weed made me really lazy. And it made me late for work a lot of times. A lot of times, most of the reason why I was late for work was because I was high, all right? Or I didn't even show up or whatever, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the more that I talk about being a cop, whether I actually end up going to police academy or, going back to anything that I did before, it's motivation. You know what I mean? You shoot for the stars, and you fall amongst the greats. So I might end up falling amongst the greats and just becoming a medic or a male nurse or a firefighter or something decent. A landscaper, a painter, a carpenter, a construction worker. Who knows? Nobody knows. All right. But if I just sit there and I just puff weed and my life is consumed in music, that's all I'm going to be, is just some guy who works at a fast food restaurant and he does a couple of songs with a couple of big people but doesn't get anywhere with it. I don't want to do that. I don't want my claim to fame to be Kentucky Fried Chicken and once upon a time I worked for University Police at Penn State. I don't like that shit. You know what I mean? I had some other good jobs, but to really end up doing something serious, the more I talk about being a cop, the more I'm always in serious mode, okay? I'm not in fuck around mode, so that's why, okay? In case you were wondering, I'm not really obsessed with, anything like being a law enforcement officer. I'm just passionate about not going back to smoking cigarettes, not being lazy again, and not wasting any more time, all right? So do yourself a favor. Make sure you go out there, you enjoy the day, and above all things, you do it so I don't have to do it. And you know what the punchline is. You ready for it? Brrr. Fund the police.